had 5 people. I mean, they're very nice there. They don't do much on Wednesday nights either. It's great.
Yes.
Now, I had the new thing in here last week.
I was thinking about it in the car just in case.
Okay, sure. We're going to start without it. Do the regular.
That's great, but I appreciate it. I thought about using these actually.
So I'm only doing this.
I have some.
Now that's very frustrating. I have the new.
I guess it should be more of a focus for me just as
the new mission statement, but obviously that's this.
Yeah, I will. I just, life is starting to get much better. I got moved out. The house is almost done. Of course, I mean, it's so much better. Like, I sleep at night again. It's nice.
Who's the evaluator?
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Central Florida Facilitators. Toni. If anybody has at this time a telephone or anything that makes noise, would you please turn it on? I'm so glad to see everyone here in this rainy weather. I'm going to start with our mission statement. The mission of Toastmasters Club is to provide a mutually supportive, positive learning environment in which every individual member has the opportunity to develop oral communication and leadership skills, which in turn fosters self-confidence and personal growth. Tonight, I will call up fellow Toastmaster Jonathan Dunn to do the thought and pledge.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. May I have your attention at the front of the room? Thank you. The thought for the evening is gratitude is the attitude. Gratitude is the attitude. Will you please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And now I would like to call to the front of the room our amazing, lovely, beautiful president, Ms. Toni Gittles.
He knows how to suck up to the president, doesn't he?
And you all don't? What's wrong with you?
He only said it because it was true.
That's right.
Welcome to Central Florida Facilitators Toastmaster Club. We are about to celebrate our 10th anniversary as a club. More on that later. We are named the Facilitators. That name was chosen for 3 reasons. 1, we are sponsored by the Central Florida chapter of the American Society of Training and Development. 2, a good facilitator needs to be a strong communicator and an effective leader, and that's what we're doing here tonight. Facilitate means to make things simple and easy, and we hope to make things simple and easy for you tonight. We hope you have a good time and the evening provides value for you as you move toward reaching your individual goals. We have a guest in the audience tonight, Kelly. I don't know if someone invited you or if you found us on your own. Would you like to stand up? And this is your opportunity to speak during the meeting.
I to check this thing out.
I don't know, everybody trusts Jonathan. What is that you got going there? Thank you, Kelly. Just wanted to remind our officers that there's a meeting tonight. We'll be meeting at Pat Steigner's home, and I have maps for you get started, I want to do this first, Miss Jessica. Once in a blue moon, does someone in the club make it to distinguished Toastmaster status? After 11 years of working in our Toastmaster organization in several different clubs, Jessica Schlenk Guthrie has achieved her Distinguished Toastmaster Award. What that means for our guest is it's over 80 speeches, presentations, a lot of leadership work, commitment to the district, in a leadership position for a year and more. Please welcome. All right, let's welcome Lynn for our educational moment, our Vice President of Education. Come on up.
Who likes a challenge?
Sign them up. Sign them up.
What kind of challenge?
If you were like me, you love a challenge. In fact, challenges allow us to grow and become better Toastmaster members. The duty of the Vice President of Education can be very challenging. The VPE's main responsibility is to promote continuing education. The success of Toastmasters is based largely on how much its members learn and grow. As such, the club's Vice President of Education plays a vital role. There are several ways that the VPE promotes continuing education. They emphasize manual speeches by giving priority to manual speeches, by getting commitment from members to earn the next level of achievement, by promoting educational programming, having members conduct workshops from the Successful Club Series and Better Speaker Series. Also, tapping veteran members to deliver programs from the Success Leadership and Success Communication modules. Promote advanced manuals by having a set of manuals on hand for members to review. Having a weekly educational moment involving the entire club in planning and staging contests, acknowledging and rewarding educational achievements. In addition to promoting the educational program, as VPE, you have the opportunity to develop leadership skills as well as network with other officers. The VPE is responsible for presiding over the meetings in the absence of the president. They attend district meetings and area meetings, rubbing elbows with the area and district governors. They attend district-sponsored club officer training, where they are able to network with other club officers. They conduct an orientation for each new member and assign that new member a mentor. They sign communication and leadership manuals and track members' progress, as well as submitting awards for those members. And finally, they prepare their successor for office. As Vice President of Education, you are responsible for providing and maintaining a positive environment in which members can learn and grow. If you do your job well, your club will have satisfied members that continue to grow. Your efforts will help the club become a distinguished club, which should be an annual goal. Why is it important for our club to be a distinguished club? Distinguished is the standard of excellence. By achieving the standard of excellence, a club can improve quality and help their members attain their goals. The job of VPE is a mighty responsibility, but also a rewarding experience. It can seem like a great deal to do, but the good news is that there is an array of tools available to assist VPEs, and no experience is necessary. You only need to be willing to learn. Thank you.
I'm supposed to ask now, who likes a good challenge? Let's see it again. Thank you, Lynn. Given the attendance this evening, you'll all probably be officers next term, so get ready for the call. Wanted to let you know that I heard from Nikki, and she apologizes for missing several meetings in a row. She needs to be taking care of her mother rather than coming to the meeting, and her husband is out of town. So it looks like everybody's busy. I'll just take some notes as far as the minutes, because I think everybody's got the job they want to do. Also wanted to let you know that I saw Tim Chastain today. He's the co-founder with Jessica of our club. He's definitely intending to come to our banquet, and possibly Marilyn will be attending too. And we were reviewing some of the membership rosters in the club and going over old times, and I guess he knows about your DTM, Jessica. He was quite delighted. So without further ado, caramba, we got a meeting to take place. Arriba, arriba! Are you ready for a fiesta? Tonight, our Toastmaster will guide us through a celebration of Cinco de Mayo. Please welcome our Toastmaster this evening and mi amiga, distinguished Toastmaster, Jessica. Buenas noches. Buenas noches.
Hey.
Sí, sí.
Buenas noches.
I did take quite a lot of Spanish, I will say, when I was in school. I still do not speak it very well. I still do a version of Spanglish, which will make your toes curl. But I will do my best this evening, and probably do most of the meeting in English, of course. Let me first start by saying all of you have an agenda in front of you. It is mostly up to date, except I never did hear from Nikki. I didn't know she wasn't going to be here through several tries, so yours truly will be the table topics master. So that will be fun. Other than that, I think we are pretty up to speed on the agenda for the rest of the items. And tonight, the theme, as I said before, is Cinco de Mayo. And Cinco de Mayo is literally Spanish for the 5th of May, and it's celebrated on the 5th of May. So we're just getting a really early head start on this for the 1st of May, and we just want to make sure that we're ready and we know what we're doing for Cinco de Mayo. It's celebrated primarily actually in the United States, and really the only section of Mexico that truly celebrates this is around the town of Puebla, where the Cinco de Mayo information comes from, the date, etc. So I'll talk a little bit about what that is later as we go through the program. But let's start by making sure that we're keeping ourselves honest this evening, and I have a few people who are going to introduce themselves and tell us what their roles will be, especially for our guest so he's aware of what they're doing. And let's start with our grammarian. Julie, will you please tell us what the grammarian is going to be doing this evening?
Haz el gramaticari. That's the grammarian. I have chosen the word of the day, which is Ay, caramba! Arriba, arriba, ándale, ándale, soy Speedy Gonzalez! I better remember Speedy Gonzalez.
Oh, yeah.
God, you're all a bunch of old farts. Kelly doesn't remember, right? That was for your time, I understand. As grammarian, I'll keep track now. Ay caramba is a Spanish interjection denoting surprise. So when you stub your toe, ay caramba, that word very much. Now, if you have a problem with your R's, like you can say ay caramba, I will allow you to say ay caramba or ay krampus. So you can say all three versions, and I will be merciful this evening. I will keep track of those who use the word of the day for clubs with a fine, which this is one of them, and I hope to be able to fill my little bus with quarters this evening. You will be charged with 25 cents, and me or our sergeant of arms will pick up the money. And guests and members who do not yet have given their icebreaker, which is Patty and Kelly, don't have to worry about using the word of the day. I will also listen for colorful imagery and exceptional use of vocabulary and grammar, English or Spanish. At the end of the meeting, I will report on grammar usage and suggest where I see improvements can be made. Thank you, Madam Toastmaster.
Tell us about her role as the Wizard of Oz this evening, our counter. Please welcome Senorita Patston.
Ay, caramba! If you do you will hear this little buzzer. My job is to keep track of audible crutches such as and double crutches, which is repetition of a word while the speaker searches for the next thought. I will also note sentences strung together with bridge words like and so, and like. And I will sound the buzzer. Is anybody opposed to hearing the buzzer? Okay, this is not meant to embarrass. The fine for each infraction is 10 cents. Guests and members who have not yet done their icebreaker will not be buzzed or fined, but I will keep track of your infractions. Thank you, Madam President.
Performing the role this evening of timer is Patty Herrera. Patty, tell us your role this evening.
One of the things we do here is keep track of time of your speeches, and as a timer, I'm responsible for monitoring time for each speaker in each meeting segment. I'll operate the time signal, indicating to each speaker how long he or she has been speaking. For our prepared speeches to qualify for voting, speakers must speak not less than 30 seconds under their range minimum and no more than 30 seconds over their range maximum. I will turn on the green light at range minimum, the yellow light at mid-range, and the red light at range maximum. For table topic speakers to qualify, you must speak at least a minute, no more than 2 minutes and 30 seconds. Green light, 1 minute, yellow light, 1.5, red light, 2 minutes. For evaluations to qualify, evaluators must speak a minimum of 1 minute and 30 seconds and a maximum of 3 minutes, 30 seconds. Green light at 2 minutes, yellow light at 2.5 minutes, red light at 3 minutes. Thank you very much.
Patty is getting very good at this timer.
And I better be, because what is this, like the 4th time?
We've done one around a little bit. And our vote counter this evening is Lynn Ayers. Lynn, tell us about your role this evening.
As vote counter, I will pick up your ballots for best speaker, best table topic speaker, best evaluator, and most improved speaker. I will tally the results for award presentations at the end of the meeting. I will also pick up any comments that you might have written for the speakers or any meeting participant and deliver those comments to the appropriate person. I see, Madam Toastmaster, that you have me down as vote counter snacks. Ah, caramba! I forgot I was so sorry. Thank you. You can fire me.
I was just going off the agenda, so I didn't. I looked over and went, ruh-roh, it's on the agenda. Ay, caramba. Those functionaries are going to be helping us throughout the evening, and you'll hear from them at the end of the meeting as they report out on what they've learned and what they've heard this evening. Now, a little bit about Cinco de Mayo before we get started, or as we get started, I should say. I mentioned May 5th. Where does the date May 5th? Why is that the chosen date for Cinco de Mayo? Well, I'll give you the short version. There's several long versions on the internet. But in the city of Puebla, what happened was, if I can put this in the right order, Mexico owed a lot of money in about the 1860s, sometime in the 1860s. And they said, we're not going to pay it for a couple of years. And they owed money to the US, they owed money to Spain, they owed money to France and Britain. They made deals with everybody except France, who saw this as a great opportunity to come take over Mexico. So France came in, said, no, we're going to attack you. They did that in the town of Puebla in Mexico, and France was very strong at that time. And when France came in, they had like 8,000 troops. The Mexicans in Puebla only had about 4,000, and they weren't nearly as well supplied. But they defeated the French armies as they came in. And they defeated them on May 5th. I think it was 1862. So that's why they celebrate Cinco de Mayo. That's why that day is so important. So there you have it. Now you know why it's Cinco de Mayo. Now to tell us a little bit more about himself, doing his icebreaker this evening. Experienced Toastmaster is pretty exciting. Because in Toastmasters, you are never finished. Once you complete a manual, you just start over again. And the icebreaker speech is the very first speech in the very first manual that you do.
I was going to say, oh God.
In fact, our next speaker tonight is giving an icebreaker to complete his 8 Competent Communicator Manual. Please welcome Advanced Toastmaster Gold, Stephen Morgan with Lonely Ambition.
My mom was in the kitchen doing the dishes, and she heard me talking over in the other room. And she was wondering what I was talking about. She goes, "Stephen, what are you doing?" I said, "I'm reading the newspaper." She goes, "Nuh-uh." "No, what are you really doing?" "I'm reading the newspaper." She eventually comes out to go over and go, "What?" I'm sitting there looking at the newspaper on the table. So she points to a different spot on the paper and goes, "Read that." I started reading that. She was all freaked out and goes to call my dad, to tell him to come home to see me because he's reading the newspaper. And I was only 3 years old. This was an aspect of me that I had to deal with over time when I eventually got tested in the public schools in Michigan. I tested off the charts. They were all excited and told my parents about it, and my mom and dad were like, "What are we going to do?" And the answer they got back is, "We don't know." They had no program whatsoever, and they didn't know what to do with me. I thought and think differently than all the other kids. I can't talk to them. I can't communicate very well with any of them because they don't understand me and I don't understand them. As a result, I would get very frustrated. And it didn't help that I had a short temper to boot. This would be a consistent problem for me going through childhood. It would get to a point where any little thing could have a tendency to set me off, which was compounded by the fact I had this idea of how things should be fair or balanced. And that didn't mean that it all had to go my way. I had problems when other people had things done against them, even if it meant that I had to give something up. When on the playground in elementary school, the boys would run around, steal the balls from the girls and keep it away. I wanted to get the ball back and give it back. You know, it's just not the right thing to do. That didn't win me any friends either. As a result, by the time I got to 5th grade, in particular, as I remember, there were none of the boys in the class that liked me at all, and only a couple of the girls that even want to talk to me. It's very lonely. On top of this, knowing that I was academically very strong, and I knew it, I also knew that I knew things other people didn't get, and I could figure things out faster than others could. So I had a tendency to want to direct, to tell them what's the right thing to do. Lead people along, and most of the time they didn't want to go. That's where the communication skills kind of get in the way. Alas, it became very lonely to have the ambition to want to do more. It didn't get better going along until a few people I met that I could actually communicate with. When we moved to Virginia, there was a gifted program. And I was able to interact eventually with some students who thought the way I did. But that didn't always work. In science class in 8th grade, there were a couple of students, the kind who'd be the bullies, the dropouts, take your pick, who'd want to pick on me to try and get me riled up. Now, I'd gotten better by then, but that doesn't mean I was perfect.
In fact, there was a particular day, it was the day before Thanksgiving in 8th grade. All three of the others at my table of four were out that day. Our science teacher decided to show a film because so many people were out. And one of those difficult kids was being difficult, and she separated him from the other one, put him at the table where I'm sitting just by myself. Great, I'm gonna get this chance. Well, he starts kicking me under the table. And my temper can go only for so long. After he'd kicked me a few too many times, I got up and across the cheek. Startled everybody, no surprise. I ended up with a couple days in detention as a result, as I recall. My parents weren't too happy. And when I finally talked to the teacher about it later, she was saying, you know, I can't say too much about it, but well done. Sometimes people do deserve it. It would take much longer before I could finally bring things together and realize I have to shift out of this superiority complex, be able to talk to people at a level they can understand. And sometimes it's hard because my rhyme still races off and I don't think the same way as anyone else still. But nonetheless, I try to find a way to bring it down. And I finally was able to accomplish something in college when I was able to start a club, which was actually for the online community that we had developed there. This was before the internet became anything. The World Wide Web had not yet been invented when we formed this club. But we had that kind of a community online there at the University of Florida. And I pushed to have us start teaching. And teaching something I actually tend to do very naturally. And we formed classes, wrote materials, and we started just simply doing classes for, I believe it was $3 each, just explaining the systems that were available. And we found a demand. Now, most of the other people in the club thought I was crazy. Even my fiance at the time thought I was crazy. But it worked. We found a demand. We made money. We made ourselves a strong community of friends. And in the end, we did so well that the administration on campus decided to teach their own classes and kicked us out. It's possible to be able to use your ambition in a way to go in alone if you can find a way to communicate and to apply. But it always helps to have others that can understand you, which is why I like to get the chance to talk a lot. So I take those chances here at Toastmaster.
Update on Cinco de Mayo is that it is not Mexico's Independence Day celebration. Many people confuse it with that. Actually, the most important national patriotic holiday in Mexico, their Independence Day, is celebrated on September 16th. So, you know. Now, I'm very excited for our next speech. It's called Never Say Never. You have projectors and information on the agenda. at 215 pounds comes to us this southpaw, who once made a man laugh who was on death row, who happened to be deaf, blind, and mute. Oh, yes it was. Give it up, stand up, get ready for Theo!
And I don't care if you just had elbow reconstruction. Oh, hey, Edgar, how are you? For those of you that don't know Edgar, he was my very kind Latin American boss at Valley Total Fitness. Hey, Holmes, John, can I have a minute of your time, please? Excuse me, sir. You know, I know you pride yourself on being the top personal trainer here at home, but if you want to keep your job, you're going to need to go to an 8-hour CPR class this Saturday, or come Monday, you're unemployed. Edgar, buddy, I'm the top trainer here. I had a big beach weekend planned with my family, and I know you don't want to take away time from my family. You're going to have plenty of time with your family if you don't go to the class this Saturday, because come Monday, you're going to be unemployed. You feeling me? All right. But Edgar, this is my idea of CPR even after the class. I will never, ever put my mouth on another human being's mouth outside of my wife and have vomit regurgitated into my eye. Whatever, have fun at the class, bud. Fast forward to the Monday after the class. Hey, Candy, check it out. Candy was our front desk girl. I'm CPR certified, check me out. She was filing her nails at the time. Oh, hey, John, so good to see you. You look different after your CPR class. It's my time of the month, John, and I've got one of these things, and I need to go stick it in. So could you watch the front desk for me for a minute? Oh my God, please put that thing away. What is that, a torpedo? In future, a simple bathroom break will be plenty for me. So I manned the front desk waiting for my client to show up that morning. And did I mention it was Monday? And it was already turning out to be one of those types of Monday. When one of our favorite wedding songs came blaring over the loudspeakers, YMCA, we're gonna do it now, and I'm like, oh my God, I wish he'd come back to the bathroom. I need to go there myself and puke. When all of a sudden, the most amazing thing occurred. A herd of naked men came running out of the locker room, naked except for towels. And many of those towels were way too small. I kept waiting for any minute Alan Funt from Candid Camera to come pop it out of some door and go, "You're on Candid Camera!" Because I can only imagine what the look on my face looked like. So these guys had come running this direction, and one guy, I'll call him the leader of the naked men, goes, "We've got a man down! We've got a man down!" I worked in an extremely alternative Valley Total Fitness location, and I pondered to myself, I'm surprised these guys are thinking this is a bad thing. I would have thought they thought a man down was a good thing. Those were regular occurrences in our valleys. So I said, whoa, back up for a second, sir. I'm not the manager, but I can get him. Are you reporting to me some sort of inappropriate homosexual contact coming out of the bathroom? In his reply, "No, you idiot. There is a man down in the shower. He passed out. He's laying there." So my class instincts completely took over. And I said, "Here's my cell phone. You guys call 911, and I want you to wait right here at the front desk, and you get those paramedics into the shower facility as soon as they come bursting through that door." So then I came out from behind the front desk and I headed to the locker room. I mean, I tippy-toed there. I was trying to delay the inevitable as much as I possibly could because I wanted those paramedics to get there before I had to stick my mouth on that man's mouth, because never say never. So no one had bothered to turn the showers off in the facility, and there must have been 10, 12 guys in there. And there was steam. I mean, I was like a hunter stalking my prey. A naked man, where's the naked man? When I saw him laying there on the ground, I came and I dropped to my knees. And I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm getting ready to do this. I was buying for time as much as I could possibly buy for time when I slapped him in the face, and there was nothing. So then I slapped him in the face again, and there was nothing. And I knew I had to go down into look, listen, and feel. Would anybody care to quickly raise their hand and tell me which direction you look when you do look, listen, and feel? Lynn, you look like you might be a great participant. Yeah, you look in that direction. So I went down, oh my God! Whoa! Anybody ever seen the Seinfeld episode? When you are in the shower, you are suffering from shrinkage. So after my startledness stopped, I said, I'm going to slap him one more time. That's more like it. And I went down into look, listen, and feel. And as I said, massive shrinkage in the shower. Oh my God, I readied my mouth. I licked my lips, went down, I looked around, there was no one there, so I slapped him one more time. And I went down and I tilted, and I said, stop, sir! We've got it from here. And it was my knights in shining armor. The paramedics had arrived, they performed cardiopulmonary resuscitation on the man, and he lived. Madam Toastmaster. Just one space, by the way.
Jonathan. Sure, bottle.
Oh, I like that. You touch me, you touch all that nasty fruit. Stephen Morgan spoke on volume and addition. Required time was 4 to 6. His actual time was 6 minutes and 33 seconds. He does not qualify. Jonathan Dunn, never say never, 5 to 7 minutes. His time was actually 6 minutes and 35 seconds. He qualifies.
Well, given that we did have one person go over time, we do not have to go. At this point, usually in the agenda, we take a vote for best speaker, but you have to qualify within those times. So at this point, we'll skip that part and we'll move on to the next section. I did want to mention that, so we have the 5th of May. We know that happened in the state of Pueblo for the Cinco de Mayo, and where that came from. But why did it start getting celebrated here? Well, it actually started being celebrated in California, and it was during the American Civil War, but it was to show the pride in Mexico and to support them. And so it originated with those Mexican-American communities in the American West, and today it's observed in the United States as a celebration of Mexican heritage and pride. Now, it pretty much was limited to the Southwest region until about the 1950s, when it started to cross over to the rest of the United States as a celebration. And it started really about the 50s, 60s doing that, but it didn't gain popularity until about the 1980s, when marketers, especially beer companies, capitalized on that celebration and that's where it's really moved up in the recognition of the rest of the United States. It's a very large marketing ploy, if you will. That's why it's gotten a lot of fame and fortune over the last few years. Now this section of the program, we will be doing table topics, which is an opportunity for everyone to practice their impromptu speaking. And so I'm going to switch roles, put on another hat, another sombrero, shall we say, moving from good evening, thank you, Toastmaster, which is introducing the speakers, to being the table topics master, which is reading or deciding upon questions and asking unsuspecting folks in the audience to respond for 1 to 2 minutes. So we've been talking about Cinco de Mayo, and it's a celebration of Mexican heritage. Is there a way that your home country celebrates, and how do you celebrate your heritage? Toastmaster Julie and Koto.
One of my biggest frustrations about the United States is that to Americans, Hispanic means Mexican. I go to a Mexican restaurant, I have no idea what a tortilla, what a taco, the only thing I know is fajitas, okay? I know what a fajita is. Other than that, I have no idea what any of that stuff is. Because Hispanics is not a homogeneous group. We are so unhomogeneous. For instance, Cubans and Puerto Ricans and Dominicans share a common heritage because we're all from the Caribbean. The food is very similar. And our the holiday that we celebrate most is Christmas Eve. And every year in Miami, we cook a pig in Christmas Eve, a whole pig. And maybe one day I'll cook a whole pig for you guys. I have actually, my father-in-law has an electric pig oven that his brother-in-law made for him. And it's like 5 feet by 3 feet wide, and it's electric. Probably the only one around. I have one that's a charcoal pig oven. It's called La Caja China. It is, I guess, the Chinese used to do it that way. You put the charcoal on top. And in South America, the culture is totally different from the Caribbean or Mexico. Mexico is actually a very unique Hispanic culture that is not shared by either any other country in Central, South America, or the Caribbean. So when you think Spanish, broaden your horizons beyond Mexico. Thank you, Madam.
Thank you, Julie. I've been fortunate. I've been able to travel, and I've been to Mexico. But have you ever been to Mexico? If you have, what is it like? And if you haven't, what do you think it's like? Toastmaster Patty Herrera.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. Yes, I had the pleasure of being in Mexico way back in the 80s. And I will say I'm going to date myself, 1987. I went to Puerto Vallarta with my roommate, Heather. And I have to tell you, the Mexicans are extremely friendly. They love Americans, very good people. Puerto Vallarta is a town to be in. A lot of rules. The town has cobblestone streets, no neon lights. You can't build buildings higher than 4 stories. Taxi cabs can actually ride and pick you up without doors. That's how slow they go because the cobblestones are so deep and the potholes and just the way they drive around. A lot of pedestrians, very crowded. And I remember when we got there, the first thing we did at Plaza Vallarta Hotel is go lay on the beach. We couldn't wait. We were very white, glow-in-the-dark white, ugly, milky white. And they knew we have not seen the beach in a long time. Just 3 hours in the sun, very minimal sunblock. We ended up losing 2 days of our vacation because that's how bad the sunburn was. blistering, peeling, swelling, unable to walk, completely burnt, toast, 100%. The people at the hotel were so kind. They brought us their homemade lotions and medicines to put on our skins. They brought our food. Ice, lots of ice to soak in the tub. It was horrific. But I have to say it was the best time we ever had. The food, the people, and one of the most common things that you'll find from the people on the beach, the children. A lot of the children running around with Polaroids. Picture with iguana, señorita? Picture with iguana. And there's this big, fat, old, lazy, half-dead iguana sitting on one of the kids' heads. You can tell that he's so tired and thirsty and over this. Picture with iguana, $1 American, señorita. And all you have to do is hold the iguana, takes a Polaroid, and you pay him $1. So no, we would not hold the iguana. But for $5, he dumped it on my roommate's towel, and it was worth it because she was gone. It was excellent. It was the best experience, and I recommend you go to Puerto Vallarta because it is a beautiful, beautiful place to see. A lot of history. Thank you, Dr.
As I mentioned earlier, Cinco de Mayo has been marketed very strongly by the beer companies. I enjoy beer. Is that your beverage of choice, or do you have another favorite? Toastmaster Charlie Bombadillo.
Madam Table Topic Master, it's funny that you asked me that question because when Corona, it started out in California, and then it moved to Texas and then Florida. I had the privilege in Fort Lauderdale of introducing Corona in the market. And it was a blessing and a curse. The second shipment we got was completely burned. It had been laid in trains somewhere in Texas, and it was burned. We had to take thousands of cases back. But the funny part was that a lot of companies, the big companies, Winn-Dixie, one of them, almost threw me out of the office saying, we don't want that shit here. I said, okay. 3 weeks later, when everybody was begging for it, we ran into a shortage. They were calling me and begging for it. Sorry, we're short. You have to wait in line. So I got my little revenge out of that. But in Mexico, Corona beer is the low-end beer. Here, you put a piece of lime in it and you're good to go. And it's just funny that many people regard to this day Corona as a really dumpy beer in Mexico and a high-class beer here. And trust me when I tell you, they're making a ton of money with that beer. And yes, I do like Corona and I drink it, but I also drink any other different types of beers because I sold beer all my life, basically. So, but it's one of the top ones and I like it. Thank you.
Kelly, you've seen a few examples of table topics. Do you want to give it a try? No. Totally fine. Cinco de Mayo is known for big parties. Big parties. Sundays are going to be a big party day. What's the best party you have ever been to, or maybe that you've ever thrown? Toastmaster Lynn Ayers.
Madam Toastmaster, thank you for that question. I can't say I've thrown a whole bunch of big parties. However, I have been to some big parties, and I would have to say that the best party I have been to was one thrown by my company. If I remember correctly, we had our party at Hard Rock Cafe. Is that the name of it? Yes. And it was fun, very fun. In fact, I think a friend of mine actually stayed in a hotel because we had a little bit too much fun. We went to some clubs after we left Hard Rock Cafe and continued to party. But that was, I believe, if I remember correctly, it was a Christmas party, and our company, we haven't had a Christmas party in I don't know how many years now, but it was huge. And it was pretty fun. As far as, I'm not really a party animal though, believe it or not. Except for that one night. And she was a bad influence on me. So I have to say that that was the one that comes to mind. Thank you, Madam Secretary.
Cinco de Mayo celebrates the Mexican heritage, and it's pretty easy to come to mind what the costumes look like. They're very colorful, and the music is very bright, full of trumpets, etc. What kind of clothing and party music do you like, Toastmaster Pat Stogner?
I like any party. I do enjoy parties. I do enjoy having a really good time. When you talked about the colors, and since we're talking about Mexico, my daughter got married in Mexico. And I want you to know that that, to me, was the best party ever. She actually had the donkey come and bring the tequila on the side. So it was, and you're right about the beer. I don't remember the name of the beer, but it was some kind of Mexican beer, and there was no Corona. That party was awesome. As a testament to my daughter, so I get a chance to brag about this party, was that she has relatives all over the world. We had people come from Italy, Australia, California, New York, Florida, all these places. We had 80 people show up at her wedding, and I want you to know that it was a fabulous, fabulous party. And for color, they did the photo booth. So there was lots of the little Mexican hats and stuff like that, and it was wonderful. And we were close to Puerto Vallarta, and the roads were definitely cobblestones. And we had these little golf carts to ride around in. Trust me, I was going to be a princess. So I was bouncing all over. And actually, the Mexicans were having this really great time laughing at me because I could hardly sit on the cart. And I actually took a picture of a real Mexican. And he had his machete thing. Is that what it is? So that to me was a fabulous, fabulous party. It went on for 3 days, and it doesn't get any better than that. Thank you.
And that concludes our table topic section for this evening. Patty, may we please have a report on the table topic?
Julian Cotto, he spoke about how do you like to celebrate your heritage, 2 minutes and 12 seconds, he qualifies. I spoke, Patty Herrera, for the topic, have you been to Mexico, and what do you think of it, or your experience, 2 minutes and 23 seconds. Charlie spoke about the best beverage of Mexico. I think that's what it was, correct? Yes.
Your beverage, please.
The beverage of Mexico. For 1 minute and 12 seconds, he qualifies. Lynn spoke about the best party attended for Cinco de Mayo, and it was 1 minute and 26 seconds. She qualifies. And Pat gave us a really good recount of her daughter's wedding for color and clothing for parties and festivities on Cinco de Mayo, or Mexico, and that was 1 minute and 51 seconds. So she qualifies. Everyone qualifies. Thank you, Madam President.
You can now take this opportunity to vote for what you believe was the best table topic this evening. Table topic response, I should say. Not table topic, deal. And our vote counter will be around to collect those votes. And while she's doing that, I'll just make one other comment about Cinco de Mayo, which is somewhat interesting when you look at it in the view of it's more of an American holiday than it is in Mexico, but it does celebrate that Mexican heritage. But it did potentially have an influence on the result of the American Civil War. France was a big supporter of the Confederacy, and they were funneling a lot of money towards that Confederacy. And one of the reasons they were interested in Mexico was with the hope of breaking up the size of America and the American Union. But when they went and they lost in Mexico, they could not give any funds to the Confederacy for a year or two. And there's many who think that without that funding, that's what brought the Confederacy down and really helped the Union win in that war. So it's interesting to think what might have happened if that battle at Puebla hadn't gone differently. Now, eventually France did win over Mexico, but they were only in power for a year or two and then they were ousted. So it's kind of interesting to learn all that around Cinco de Mayo. So now you know this, and help spread the word on Sunday as you're drinking your beer, partying with the music, wearing those bright clothes. It'll be a lot of fun. Now we're going to turn to the evaluation portion of our meeting, and I will introduce our general evaluator. Charlie Baumblier enjoys the general evaluator role as it is another opportunity to further his skills in public speaking. Please help me welcome to the lectern, Charlie Baumblier.
Ay, caramba! That's a Cuban there. Not Mexican, Cuban. Okay. For our guests, the role of a general evaluator is to basically evaluate how the whole meeting went from start to finish. And I'll be giving that at the end of the evaluator's turn for the speakers. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce Toni Giddles, the evaluator for Stephen Morgan. And Toni isn't certain she will be celebrating Cinco de Mayo. However, she is certain that she will be celebrating Cuatro de Mayo. May 4th is her puppy, Jasmine's 3rd birthday. My, the children go up so quickly. Evaluating the speech of Stephen Morgan, please welcome Toni Giddles.
Lonely ambition. What an interesting juxtaposition of words. Mr. General Evaluator, fellow Toastmasters, our guest, and especially Stephen. It was the perfect title to your speech. And one of the things I loved about the presentation was how you wove that theme throughout your entire presentation, from the opening to the closing. This was also a very personal speech. It seemed to, it generated a lot of emotion on my end. You really touched me in a lot of ways. He mentioned a lot of incidents which caused him to be challenged in his life. You talked about there was no education for kids like you. The frustration of not being able to communicate with the other children. Didn't help that you had a short temper. Well, we're really getting to know you now. You had an idea of fairness. This is an interesting idea that upset you for yourself and for other kids. Starting your values, you're starting to share with us. And by the 5th grade, none of the boys were like you, and the girls stayed away. That, I can feel that. And, you know, it relates to some of the experiences in my life, which is also a very good thing when you can reach your audience and relate to something that perhaps has happened to them in either the same way or some small way. So it became lonely, and you know, you think differently than other people. But you seem like a regular guy. In fact, another thing you did well was you got up in front of the lectern without notes, and you seemed to enjoy the audience, and you seemed to connect easily. You were at ease. So you really come to Toastmasters with a lot of strengths. I see you really building on these for the future. A couple of ideas I have to make the speech even more powerful, more effective, is one, I thought there could have been a little bit more vocal variety. Not that you were monotone by any means. You told your story, it was easy to follow, you held my interest, but, and I can't tell you specific places, but that's something that you will see in future projects, how to do that more effectively. In addition, somewhere I wanted to know a date, like what time frame was it? And you gave us when you were in college, you said it was before the internet. But it got my mind wondering, well, when was that? And when were you born and when was all of this happening. So if you could just place us at some point in the speech, it doesn't have to be the opening, it doesn't have to be, at my suggestion, the college, but that would have been a good place to insert it and just give us an idea about your progression, because you're telling your life story here basically and your challenges. You were supposed to have a clear beginning, body, and ending. I thought you did all of that very well. You even inserted some humor when you had the teacher comment, well done. You'll learn more about humor in future projects as well. In fact, you seem to enjoy this very much, and I do think you have found your place in Toastmasters. You may be interested in competing in some of our contests. More about that later. Great job, Stephen. I look forward to speech number 2. Mr. General Evaluator.
Thank you, Tony. Buenas noches, Toastmasters and guests. Our next evaluator thinks evaluations are the cornerstone of the Toastmasters meeting. At one time, she was terrified to evaluate. Now she enjoys the challenge to give helpful and positive feedback on a speaker's speech. Here to evaluate Jonathan Dunn's speech, please help me welcome distinguished Toastmaster Susan Morgan.
Welcome everybody, and especially Jonathan. Ay caramba! Talk about a hard speech to evaluate. Maybe I'll step back to that being terrified to evaluate thing. No, not at all. I really did like your speech a lot, and it was definitely funny, and this is the speech to make them laugh. Well, he certainly did that and made us laugh. I loved the way at the very beginning that you choreographed everything, and you talked to your boss, and you stood one place when you were you, and one place when you were your boss, and one place when you were your boss. And that really, really helped to let us see that. And your accent was great. I can't roll my R's to save my life, so to be able to have that was really cool. I also, some of the things that they asked in the book, what indicated to you that the audience was entertained? Well, people were laughing. That's how I knew, and they were participating. You did do a lot of exaggeration, which I enjoyed a lot, which I think makes a speech that much better, especially when you're doing a funny speech. To go over the top with that speech that can really make a lot of people laugh and just really get involved in it. You might have gone a little too far in a couple of places, but you know, it doesn't bother me any. So just might want to keep an eye on what you think the audience can take.
Know your audience.
Know your audience, for sure. There was something else. The other thing that I thought you could have done better is your girl at the front desk there that had to go take care of things. I think I kind of didn't understand exactly where that fit, you know, when I was finished with the speech, where exactly that fit in, you know, just other than it was more off the top humor and, you know, the whole juxtaposition of everything that was going on. But she kind of got lost in there. I didn't know where maybe she was going to come back in, and she never did, and I didn't understand what the point was and with the transitions. But your other choreography as well was hunting. You were down, you couldn't find him, and then of course the dropping to your knees to to actually do the CPR, even though you didn't want to. That was really well done. Again, I think that you did a great job, and I will not say any more about some of the other stuff. Great. Thank you, Mr. General Evaluator.
Time to report, please.
Toni evaluated Stephen Morgan for 3 minutes and 12 seconds. She qualifies. And Susan Morgan evaluated Jonathan's speech for 3 minutes and 14 seconds. And he qualifies.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now we need to have the functionary reports. I guess we can start with,
Charlie,
Pat.
take a vote. We're gonna speak out.
Oh, I'm sorry. Do we take a minute for a vote?
No, you can answer the report, just let us know.
Take a vote for the best evaluator, please. I guess we can start with the functionaries. Patty, since I already asked.
Mr. General Evaluator, tonight Lynn spoke and she had a total of 4, 1 double clutch and 3 and likes or so. Julian had 2 ahs and ums, 1 and like or so. Toni had 2 and likes or so. Jessica, ay caramba, you had 4 and like or so. Patty, you had 1 or Stephen, you had 3 like and or so's. Jonathan, 1 and like or so. Patty, 1 and 1 like and or so. I had 2 ums that I counted. If I've missed any, let me know. And precious Susan, this is not your evening. You had 5 ahs and ums. You had 4 double clutches, 6 and likes and so's, and 1 you know. I think you wrote me.
I did.
Thank you.
This bus with me tonight.
Julian, could you give your report, please?
Absolutely. All I'm going to be able to picture is that Jonathan's girl at the desk must have been one whale of a lady.
Oh my God.
Toni Gittles used the word of the day. Interesting juxtaposition of words, lonely and bishop. I like that phrase. That was pretty cool. Pat Stogner used the word of the day, and she had some great, colorful language. That potty was awesome. Mexico has good potties. I learned that Pat Stogner is a potty connoisseur. I didn't know that about Pat. Next time I go to a potty, I'll get your opinion. Lynn Ayers used the word of the day and used it in a very good way. Ay caramba! I forgot my sheet, man! Food, I mean. Cheech and Chong. That was before your time. The big smoke out. Jessica Guthrie used the word of the day and lots of good Spanish words. Buenas noches, muchas gracias. Really good. I'm proud of you. She did not use, I think she used for Pat Stockner, seniorita. She's supposed to be a senora, not a seniorita. Jonathan Dunn did not use the word of the day, but you had colorful image. Are you sure that you're not coming out of the closet? The way that you concentrate, it seems like your image concentrated below the belly button. I don't know if that means something. You might want to explore that side.
Next speech.
Patty Herrera, blistering, feeling, burning. That's how bad it was. Boy, I almost fell. Your pain, girl. Did not use the word of the day. Lynn Ayers is a potty animal. Who would have thought? And always blaming your friend. That's what all party animals do. They blame their friend. It's not you, it's her. It was her fault. I already covered Pat Stockner. Charlie Bumble, you're one and emphatic. I've got rumba! All right. Susan Morgan. Some good usage. You did use the word of the day, so did Charlie. You might have gone a little too far in a couple of places. Really? She used the word juxtaposition, and my favorite phrase was, when you drop to your knees giving let me tell you, when you drop to your knees in this new life you have, it's not going to be for CPR. I'm going to tell you that. Thank you, Mr. General Evaluator.
To summarize, this evaluation, I have to admit that I've been to several Toastmasters, many here, for a couple of years now. I've never seen such a colorful demonstration of a speech as Mr. Jonathan. But nevertheless, I don't know how I got hookered into being the partner of this. We were on time, I believe. Really, the meeting went very well, very smooth. Everybody did their functions. The table topics was great. The speakers were really well done. The evaluators were very good. And hopefully I entertained you with caramba. And now I'm going to have the Presidente, I believe it's time for the President to come aboard.
Okay, that was an interesting meeting. Let's vote for the most improved. Let's see what happens. Kelly, this was somewhat of a typical example of how the meeting goes. This week, there is an agenda, there is a Toastmaster, people are assigned roles. Kind of curious what you thought of the meeting, and if you might come back. Can you give us your opinion on it?
It's a wait and see right now.
It's a wait and see. Okay. Thank you for being here. We really appreciate it. Okay, Lynn, it's your turn. Oops, you're busy.
Doing her stuff.
Oh, she's doing her thing. Stephen, did you want to talk at all about the public relations work that you want to do? Or I know you're sending out a lot of emails, so everybody please check your emails. We're asking you to take some actions that are going to support marketing the club to the community. Yeah?
I set up meetup events to the divisions, meetup group. And the way it works, we want to get as many people to actually say they're coming. It's not your confirmation that you're actually coming that needs to go to the Toastmaster for the meeting itself. The thing is that the more people who are actually showing us going to an event, the more the event is going to get attention through meetup. That's the idea. So we need to get people to actually go and say, I'm going. I can only say it for myself. So if you aren't going to do it, you're probably going to have to get harassed in order to get it done. Therefore, it would be helpful when you see those emails coming out and saying, the links are set up, please go, RSVP. At the same time, I've also been putting events up on Facebook, putting events up on Google+. I haven't been throwing those out, but if you go ahead and respond to those, more merrier, it certainly can't hurt. The idea is just to get more of the word out, so please help, because it's going to take everyone doing it in order to get more notes provided.
Thank you very much.
You made it very easy to respond to the meetup. I really appreciate that. I have no idea what magic is involved doing that, but it was very easy to respond. What would you mention? Facebook and what else?
Google+.
Google+. And are there links that will take us directly to a page, or is it just an announcement? It's not something we have to comment on, or?
There are events in a similar way. I can send those links out along next time.
Great. Questions? Okay, good time for questions. And then
If we respond to the meetup for RSVP, is that where everybody can see that you're attending the meeting with your functions, or do we still
No.
have to send emails to everybody in this meeting that we're going to be here? That's different. Okay. All right. Just want to confirm. Thank you.
That's part of the marketing we're doing to the community, the communication
Okay.
for Toastmaster, for roles, for attendance,
Okay.
through our members ad, offices ad, or individuals. Jonathan, did I see your hand over here?
I just, are we passing on the sheet for next week?
I don't know. No,
Oh.
she's going to read it off.
Okay,
And
good.
you can volunteer.
That's what I want.
Yes, Jessica.
I have a very exciting announcement. At least it's very exciting for me. I joined an organization this year called the Central Florida Community Arts. And they're an organization, it's a completely volunteer organization, it's a 501(c), because their mission is to serve, connect, and perform. It's a performance group. They have several different performing aspects of it. There's a community choir, there's a community orchestra, there is a children's choir and arts group. They have a School of Performing Arts that they've now opened in the Dr. Phillips Arts Center, which is right there on Lake Ivanhoe. You guys have probably passed it if you're in old-time Orlando, and you know that's the old electric building over there. And so they teach classes there. They do a whole bunch of stuff in the community. They perform at different events for other nonprofits to help them raise money, or as performers entertainment. So it's pretty exciting. I joined the community choir, which is 275 voices, and I love it. I've wanted to do this my whole life. I didn't know it existed. I'm so excited to be a part of it. And we have a big performance coming up. It's next week, May 9th and 10th, and it is called When You Wish. It's the music of Disney, and we'll be performing all different sorts of music from Disney, all the way from Beauty and the Beast to Disney Spectacular, which is a bunch of different songs from Disney, and it's really exciting, and it's going to be a lot of fun. This is really a production. It's going to be held at Northland Community Church, and they are doing lighting this week. It's a huge production. There's going to be dancers, there's going to be lighting, there's going to be some amazing musicians. We're accompanied by the orchestra, so it's going to be a lot of fun. It is May 9th and 10th, which is next Thursday and Friday. Tickets are only $10, and you can buy them online at cfcarts.com, or you can see me if you need more information. It's on my Facebook page if you're interested. You can also buy at the door, so if you're waiting Thursday, Friday, and decide if you want to go. Great for everybody, kids, adults alike. It's going to be a lot of fun. So hopefully you'll come join me. You'll probably hear I'm going to be doing the Broadway season this summer, so I'll be doing a Broadway performance in September as well. So when you wish. Thank you.
Lynn, do you have time? Sure.
For our next meeting, our theme will be A Tribute to Mom. We have Mickey, Toni, signed up to give speeches. Julian as table topics master. Timer Mesa, I'm not sure he's going to be here. And Stephen Morgan is odd counter. So I need educational moment, Toastmaster, general evaluator, free evaluators.
I don't think I have to be Toastmaster.
I'll be general evaluator.
I'll be a Toastmaster if you need. I mean, evaluator.
Right. Alrighty, Patty, would you like to be educational moment?
Oh,
Okay.
Lynn, were the educational moments, I'd like the officers to do that.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And the officers? You win? Talk about your decision? Okay, great, thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Okay. And our vote counter has results. Awards. We have somebody that can help Lynn. Oh, I'm sorry. Because I'm out of announcements, except there will be much more information coming about our 10th anniversary banquet. Julian would like to collect some money
Yes,
tonight. That's
if you
his
set it,
announcement.
if you got nailed for an off, it's a dime per off or whatever. And then if you did not use the word of the day, Jonathan, not Patty, Lynn. She did? Oh, right. Okay, so it's just Jonathan who will be in order.
Well, you can collect all the money.
And Stephen did use the word of the day.
I can unbox.
So there'll be more information about the banquet. You'll all be placed on a committee or you'll be a committee chair. And we're having an officer meeting this evening and talking about the banquet, and how it's going to look is one of the main topics for this evening. So more about that later. And let me just ask the members here, is everybody planning to attend the banquet? It's Wednesday, June 26th. Anybody not attending? You know you're attending? You'll be late, but I get it. Bye, Judy. Thank you very much. All right, awards. Let's award some awards. Thank you all. You were a great contribution tonight. You really performed your roles at an exceptional level. Tonight, the Tim Chastain Award goes to one of the most enthusiastic grammarians we have ever seen,
Oh, wow.
Julian.
Right up my alley. I wasn't a bad poet tonight. You were.
We have 2 awards going to one person. The Most Improved Award this evening and Best Table Topics, Patty Best Evaluator goes to Toni. All right, meeting's adjourned. We'll see you next week. If any of the officers need directions to Pam's house, I've got that.
Patty got best and most improved.
Stephen,
Yeah.
you have a couple of comments.
Uh-oh.
Okay.
Okay.